I'm Pat Moore, and I'm a artist. I was a retired nurse, and I got into painting and have done painting for about 20 years now. And I've worked on several different projects, and I have actually shown children how to paint on these rocks, which is really quite a way to tell stories. So if you're going to do some painting easily, I started really simplistic. So I started with decorative art, and decorative art is you usually put a base coat, and that's why rock painting is really quite easy to do, and a good way to start. So with the first thing that you do, you have to wet your paintbrush. I use acrylic paints for this because it will stick to the rocks really well. In fact, it sticks to everything. So I laid this all out on a piece of plastic, which will help protect your mom's furniture or whatever you're working on. You don't get it on, and try not to get it on yourselves as well, because you get it on your clothes, it's really hard to get out. It is, you can thin the paints with water, so if you do happen to get it on yourself or get it on a table, wash it off with water right away and it will take it off. So the best thing to do is you'll have to have some rocks, and I actually picked up a bunch down by the river this morning. These first ones that I had done, I had bought some in a bargain store. You could buy a little bag of rocks, and they're quite tiny. Whereas if you pick them up by the river, you can get bigger ones. Like this one was painted a while ago, and we just painted the front of it and put it on. So what I mean is to base coat, we were going to do ladybugs. So here's a finished ladybug, one that's red, which is normal. And that's what's so nice about painting, is that you can actually make it whatever color you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same in nature. So just base coat it red to start with. So I can show you just base coating. What I mean by base coating is just paint the rock. Just totally paint the rock, wet your brush, paint it red. Okay? And once you painted it, use quite a bit of paint. And paint the rock with a brush. There's other forms of doing this. You can actually use a foamy brush. It just looks like this, and you can paint your rock like that. So now we got to let that one dry, because we want to paint some details. So we want to put a head. So the first thing you would do is put a head on your little ladybug there. So now we'll need black paint, because it adds dimension to your painting. So I would paint a head on there, right there. See, there's a head. There's a head on your ladybug. Okay. Now we have to let that dry. So if you've noticed that the ladybug actually has a sort of a split in the middle of it. It's a back. If you've seen ladybugs in nature, that's what they look like. I painted some different colors, because when you're painting, you can paint whatever color you want, right? And it makes it so much fun, and use your imagination. Okay. So I'm going to paint, and this might be a little tricky to do. So if you have like a thin brush, you can paint a line. Go straight down. And I use my little finger to steady myself because it's not easy to draw a straight line. And in fact, you hear people saying, oh, I can't paint. It's really difficult. So, most ladybugs have little dots on them, and so I painted them black too. So I take the end of my paintbrush and just go dot, 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 dot. There. It's looking like a ladybug already. So now we just have to let that dry. And that's all we can do on that one because it has to dry. Because if I go into that black now with a white, it's going to mix in with the black and you're going to have gray because white and black are gray. So now if you wanted to make different colors, say you only have a few different colors of paint. So say you wanted to do a pink ladybug, you would take, I'll just show you a little bit about mixing colors. This is why I have several paintbrushes. So you take some of the red and mix it on something like that, on a paper. Mix it, and you can make yourself a really pretty pink. And I'll show you this in a minute once I get this mixed around. And I just mix it with and some people just brush mix it on whatever they're painting on. But there's a pink, and that was from red and white. So I thought, well, I didn't totally just want to paint ladybugs, but as you see, each one of these ladybugs is a different color, and that's what you can do. So I wanted to paint a little scene. Well, first I painted, I should tell you I painted this. And I painted a sunflower, okay? And so what you do is you base coat a sky behind it because you want to see the sky. So you have to paint that first. So I'm going to mix up some blue and white. So, well, no, I'm going to just keep it a bright blue. And I'm going to paint it on now this rock. This rock is really rough. And this is one of the ones I picked up by the river, but that actually adds what we call, as artists, we call it texture. See? So we can paint that on there. Say if you wanted a lighter color, see, and the black is actually showing through, which gives it dimension. If you want to paint it like that. So then, on that little house there, I painted some green for grass, right? See? I'm going to paint this. And this was an odd-shaped rock, and it had lots of texture and stuff in there. So if you wanted to make the sky a little bit lighter, then you could just mix in some white into it and make some clouds if you wanted. You know, it's all let your imagination go wild. That's what's so fun about being an artist. You can do that. See, make it a different, lighter color. Okay, I'm going to wash out my brush, and it's really important to wash out, like the acrylic sticks into your paintbrushes too, which, you know, if you leave it in there, it's going to stay in there and you won't have a paintbrush anymore. It'll dry in there. So wash it out with water right away. And that's the same with if you get it anywhere you don't want it, wash it right away with water because it'll break down. But other than that, it sticks to it and you're not going to get it out. So that's why this acrylic painting is so good for painting on rocks. So I'm going to paint some grass because you want some grass in there, right? See, now you got sky and grass. Okay. Now I'm going to paint a little house. But I'm going to have to let that dry before I can paint on it. So I wonder if, the way you can tell if your acrylic paints are dry, if they're no longer shiny. And you can tell by touching it, which you don't want to do that because then you leave little marks in your paintings. So there's the little one, and it's hard to sort of set up. Okay, so this is what I'm going to end up painting. I wanted to paint some more little sunflowers around. So I'm going to paint a little house there, and I'm going to do that in red because red really shows up, like especially against the sky. And then I'll make a roof line. See the roof line along here? And then I'll paint in a little window in black and then paint around it in white so that you can really see the different things. Okay, I'll see if I can paint a little ladybug. We've got to give the ladybug some eyes. So we need to paint little white dots on it and let that dry. Because to give it dimension, we're going to put a black in the middle of the white. Okay? And you can also paint little eyelashes on them, because ladybugs are ladies, so probably little eyelashes are fun to try and do. Well, it takes a little brush though to do it. But if you have a little acrylic pen, you can make the little eyelashes. But whatever works. See, I tried to do it. And it's hard when it's smaller, so maybe it'll be easier on a bigger one. So I did a couple little butterflies, and I painted the blue at the back there, so it's the sky. So then I'm going to highlight this little butterfly. I painted it pink, and so there's drying time in between, so that's why I pre-painted this. So I have these acrylic pens, and I can outline the outside of them, the brushes, the wings of the butterfly. The little pink butterfly has now got there. Yeah. That really outlines it. Okay. And give the butterfly a little head, because they got a little head there. So the butterfly's kind of in 4 parts, but it's nice to paint it first, and you can actually draw on a rock. Let me see, I've got, good thing I brought all these rocks here. Quite a variety. So if you just wanted to leave it the natural color of the rock, you could do that. So what I would do is draw with this black pen. See? There's the little butterfly. Now, what you could do, once you painted on, or once you drew that onto your rock, then you could paint inside of it. So, color are we going to make? I got this yellow paint here, this goldy yellow paint, and I'm going to paint a yellow butterfly. It's all about making it contrast so that it really stands out, the different colors. And what's nice about using pens, you actually can put a little, I like hearts myself, so I'm going to make a heart. I'm going to draw a heart. There, I drew the heart. Now I'm going to paint on the inside of that. I'm going to paint it red because hearts are red, most of them, but you can paint whatever color you want. And that's what's nice, when these are dry, you can actually paint. There. You can paint again and give it a second coat. Sometimes it takes 2 coats to cover the rock, but that's up to you. You can paint it whatever way you want. So I'm going to put this love. And that's what's nice about painting on rocks. You can put little inspiration things for people, and they really like that. When they pick up the rock and they look at it and there's a note on there, they're going to read that, and you might brighten up their day by doing that. So that's it for the rock painting. So hopefully I've covered everything for you, and